So, what version to read is my final thought for today. You read whatever version you want. There are many different translations, by which version I mean translations of the Bible. The Bible was written in Hebrew, in Aramaic, in Coptic. The original writings from the Bible were in 3 or 4 or 5 different ancient languages, none of which exist today, actually, in the form that they existed then. So all have been translated and translated a number of times along the way. Translated from Aramaic to Greek, for example, and then from Greek to English eventually, and so forth. So, in any case, they're all translations, and so they're all a little bit different. In most cases, most Bibles are created by a team, a group of people, a group of Bible scholars get together, and to the best of their ability, they read as original as they can get their hands on of texts in Hebrew or in Greek. Most of the Old Testament is in Hebrew. Most of the New Testament is in Greek. Not all of it, in both cases. And they get those texts and they translate them to the best of their ability into readable English. And by the way, also, I mean, they're not getting their hands on the texts from the 8th century BC. They're not getting their hands on texts from, what would that be, 3,000 years ago. They get their hands on texts from 200 BC, 300 BC, or from, in the case of the New Testament, from the 2nd century AD, 3rd century, in some cases 4th century, so 300-400 years after Jesus. Even some of the texts, like the oldest text we have for certain parts of the New Testament. There were older texts, but we don't have them. They withered away, or were broken, or rotted, or whatever. But they were translated or copied over or passed along through the generations. So the oldest texts we have are not the ones that were actually written, but the copies of those, a couple copies or a couple generations down the road in most cases, or even a couple centuries down the road in some cases. So they translate them the best they can into contemporary English. So there are variations. Some think the Hebrew word, this one Hebrew word is better translated this way, and others think it's better translated that way, and in some cases think it means this. No, it doesn't mean that. It means this. And so there are debates back and forth. And if you have a Bible that has some notes in it at the bottom, sometimes on each page, many Bibles will have some notes at the bottom and say, well, some people translate it differently, and they'll give a different, if there's some important difference in a translation. Some Bibles will provide alternatives at the bottom and a footnote saying some scholars think it doesn't mean blue, it means sky, or whatever the case may be. What translation to read? We have the New International Version here at the church, in the pews and in classrooms. The New International Version, NIV. It's a good, middle-of-the-road Protestant Bible. It is a pretty accurate translation, and it's a pretty readable translation. So it's fairly common, particularly among Protestants. Catholics have a slightly different Bible, as one of the videos indicated, which we may talk about a little bit at some point. So the NIV is what we have here, and it's pretty good, and it's fine. Another version is called the New Revised Standard Version, NRSV, New Revised Standard version. That version's considered a little more accurate than the NIV, a little more accurate, careful scholarship, and at times, if they have to make a choice between making it sort of readable and contemporary or making it more accurate to the text, the original text that they're working with, they go for accuracy and they sacrifice some readability in the New Revised Standard Version. So it tends to be the version that that pastors use in seminary because the professors assign it because it's a little more accurate scholarly, and it has notes, scholarly notes in it, so forth. And many churches use the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version, in their pews or in their Sunday school classes and so forth. So it's a matter of choice, but that's what the NRSV. It is the one I prefer and use, but I also use the NIV at times when it's a little bit more readable. Another version is called the Message, that some people know about. Is pretty popular. It's very readable, in very contemporary English. That is easy to read for contemporary English-speaking people. The downfall of it is that it's written by one man, Eugene Peterson, who is a Bible scholar. But anything translated by one person can wander a little more than if there's a whole team of people sort of keeping each other in check, or when there's, as I say, there's times when different people think something should be translated differently, and on a team they can sort of debate it and see what they think is the best way to do it. When it's one person, that one person does it how they want to. So it's probably the least. It's called it could be the loosest translation. Think of it that way. I was going to say the least accurate. I do think it's the least accurate in terms of reflecting carefully what was actually written. Because in a translation, you can't just put one language into another. It has to be converted into the way that other language thinks in a different context. So there's always some looseness to a translation. Another one, the last one I'm going to mention, is called the Common English Bible, which is pretty new. It was just done less than 10 years ago, I think. Common English Bible, and it's meant to be very readable, but also very accurate. That was their goal and aim, which is a wonderful goal, and I really was looking forward to that Bible when it came out, and I really have been disappointed when I read it. It is what I consider ungraceful English. It's contemporary, and it's not difficult to read, but it's ungraceful and sort of awkward at places because they're trying to make it very readable and hang on to the scholarly accuracy. And those come into clash at times. Anyway, those are some common versions. Maybe you have another version. It's fine. My suggestion is to use the version that works for you, that you like reading, that seems good to you to read, and occasionally look at some different versions, different translations once in a while, just to notice the difference. So I would challenge you with that. And the next time you read a passage from the Bible for next week in this class, if you have a different translation around, pick that up and compare translations. Just give it 5 minutes and look at the differences in the way some of the verses are translated, just to notice. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks very much. I look forward to seeing you again next week, and I hope you have a very good day. May God bless us and keep us all in His care. Amen.